All right, Jonathan, open us up.
Right. We are ready to rock and roll, bridging the gap in tech. I'm super excited to be here with you guys. Let me just make sure that we got everything going as we get started here. I want to make sure that YouTube Live is working, LinkedIn Live. We are streaming live on all these services and all these platforms. And yes, it looks like we are going to rock and roll. So excited to be here with everyone. We are live with Ronnie Collis, aka Ron Dog. Say hi, Ronnie.
Ronnie Collis here, checking in. Actually,
And
not late to my meeting.
and also Ryan Colbert. Ryan, you want to say hello? Oh, Ryan might be having some issues there, some audio issues. Ryan, can you hear us?
Happens. It's an IT thing. That's what the conversation's about.
Yeah.
It's about bridging the gap and fixing those kind of problems because it looks like he has his mute button on.
Yep, I think that might be the issue there. Ryan might be having some issues there. Ryan, can you hear us? He's on mute. Well, that's all right. Well, let me introduce myself while Ryan's getting set up here. And as tech goes, right, this is bridge the gap in tech. We're gonna have some tech issues. So Ryan's getting set up. I'll introduce myself. I'm Jonathan Otero. I'm co-hosting with these two gentlemen here, and we're gonna be talking about how we can bridge the gap in tech. And what does that mean, bridge the gap in tech? It means anything we want it to mean. It means talking about sales. It means talking about IT, tech issues, how to have the CIOs deal with the CFOs and the CEOs, and talking about anything you guys want to talk as well. So everyone's here on LinkedIn and YouTube. Welcome. If you guys have any questions and comments as we move along, feel free to ask questions directly to us. We want this to be interactive, but we do want to introduce ourselves. So I'll start off. I'm Jonathan Otero. I've been in sales for over 15 years. I've been doing this thing. Been super excited, have gradually moved into high-level sales, into technology, selling fiber internet for the last, however many years. I've had hair when I first got into sales, and it used to be all jet black hair, and now it's bald and all gray, so I shave it all off because that's how long I've been in sales. So that's who I am, and we've gotten together with these two guys. Ronnie, you want to say hello?
Yes, actually, it's kind of funny you say that, but I disagree about the statement and the honesty of the jet black hair, by the way. But I would tell you, I've been in tech sales before there was SD-WAN. I mean, when Fred Flintstone was sliding down the back of a dinosaur is when I started. So
you sold the hole punch for the hole punch cards.
Exactly, the hole puncher for the hole puncher. But I would say no. I'm excited about this. This is an opportunity. I've been in sales I was selling pet rocks at the age 4. So that's what most young children do. Not, my parents said no. But however, that's where I ended up from law school to IT sales. But like I said, I've had the pleasure of being, I guess, engaged with these two other folks that are doing this with us. And this is a conversation that's going to be open, and we're going to try to make it open and make it basically ambiguous to anyone else in regards to, like you said, questions, chat. We want to talk about what are the problems, and what can we do to help, and how can we help? And Ryan, I'll let that go to you.
Sure. I'm Ryan Colbert. I've been in technology since the late 90s. I think I grew up with technology. My grandmother worked on ARPANET before the internet existed. So I've seen the dark ages just like you, Ronnie, even though I don't look quite as old as you are.
Not even close.
Not even close. So I've been in technology leadership roles at a number of different places over the years, from small organizations all the way up to several thousand people organizations.
Awesome. And so, we got, and by the way, we got a comment already. The first comment of the Bridge the Gap in Tech series goes to this guy right here. We got a G code that says, "You go, Jonathan." So I'm going to take that. Let's even post it up so you can see it. Boom.
Like it.
Can you guys see that there? Look at that. That is the first comment of the Bridge the Tech series, and I would just like to take credit for it. Thank you guys very much. And as we move along here, definitely want to just remind you, because we got a bunch of folks filtering on LinkedIn Live, on YouTube Live. Just a quick reminder, if you have any comments for myself, Ronnie, or Ryan, feel free to post those comments in the chat, and we'll be able to be interactive and answer questions on the fly. But, the topic is Bridge the Gap. So before we even get into what we want to talk about today, let's tell the audience, our audience is going to be primarily IT folks, IT practitioners, and some sales folks as well. So we want to talk about how we kind of came together and talking about how we started this podcast. And I'll just share with you, I was introduced to Ronnie through Ryan, and we were talking about, hey, we got a bunch of great ideas to get together. Why don't we put a podcast together and just add some value to the community, talking about, technology, what we're going through, some of the pain points that we have, either from the IT practitioner seat, which is where Ryan would sit from, and he could add some value there, or from the sales side, where Ronnie and myself can add some value and kind of fill in some of the gaps and kind of bridge the gap. So that's kind of how we came up with the name and the podcast ourselves. And so I'm excited to be here. And I think one of the topics that we were talking about yesterday, as we were just kind of spitballing and talking about what we can probably do, is talking about how the shortage that we have in certain things. So Ronnie, you brought up a good point. What are you experiencing when it comes to different technology and shortages?
I am not going to say that I stole this. However, this, if I can get it close to y'all and you can see it, is pretty much what you get when you used to go to a restaurant. It just says guest check. That's what it says. Well, turn it the other way, I guess. Guest check. And so in technology, when I started, it was a part number. You typed in WS-C, and then you typed in the rest of their numbers, and you became a box supplier. So in instance, you told me what you needed. I didn't even know what it did, but you gave me the part numbers. So by the part number, I could search, and then I could find recent history, serial numbers. Do we have it in stock? Do we not have it in stock? Does Disty have it in stock? And this was what I did for a living. I was a cashier. I will tell you, as we move forward in now bridging the gap, the real truth is how do we address the chip shortage? How do we address a customer's today needs? How do we address those things? And you have to be creative, and you have to be thoughtful, and you have to be, I would say a relationship with the OEM to make sure that you can make things work. But things still work. Chips will come back around. They just aren't around today. So dealing with things like SmartNet or Junos or things like that, all of those things are very complicated. But if someone needs to stand up a data center, as we start to get back to what is our new normal, I think that we have to be flexible. We have to be elastic. I think Ryan would tell you, everybody looked for, and I pulled this up, that's a Logitech camera. That's not what I'm using, but nobody could get these. So this thing went from $39 to $109, and people stood in line at Walmart to try to buy them, so that we could collaborate. So I think a lot of bridging the gap is about being able to feel the pulse of the customer. What's your environment today? What's your environment 3 years from today? And having a plan, whether it be a web-based plan, whether it be like you said, a on-prem plan, but a plan, because there's a plan for this thing that happened. And so we don't have to call it a pandemic. We'll just say this thing that changed how we looked at technology, how we work, where we work, workspace, those sort of things. That would be my input.
Yeah. What do you think, Ryan? I mean, obviously, I'm sure the audience would want to hear your side of that as well. I mean, what are you experiencing with the chip shortage, and how are you guys dealing with that at your end of it?
Well, for us, right now, the challenge that we're seeing is parts availability, right? I think everybody's experiencing that to some extent. Some vendors are harder to come by than others. If you need video conferencing equipment today, it can take you upwards of 6 months to get something from distribution shipped to you. And that's a real challenge, especially when you're in a market where you're growing, or you're opening up new offices, you're building out new spaces, and the business just doesn't stop, right? It's not like I can tell, the folks here in the office that, I'm sorry, we can't open up your new location because we couldn't get a switch, or we couldn't get a router, or we couldn't get a video conference unit. We just have to figure out how to get things done. And that's, at the end of the day, that's what it's all about. It's really just getting it done. I think that the shortage right now is about to get even worse. I think that a lot of businesses have started to open up, and they're starting to expand again. And plans that were placed on hold at the beginning of COVID have started to come back to the table. And we're seeing a big rush in all kinds of different equipment being needed. And the availability of this stuff is just in the toilet. We're looking at alternative pieces of equipment right now. If I can't get Cisco hardware, do I look at some other Zoom meeting rooms, or some Teams meeting rooms, or even there's a device out there called Owl that we're playing around with to see if that will solve our business needs.
I'm using an Owl right now.
Yeah. So we're looking at all kinds of different options to be able to work around the chip shortage, whether it's kind of used gray market equipment, or it's extending the life of existing hardware, or just looking at alternate suppliers and alternate vendors to alternate manufacturers to get the job done. Whatever it takes, we've got to get the business has got to keep going.
Yeah, I mean, I remember. I'll tell you this. I remember I was sitting in your office, Ryan. I told this story to you guys when we were prepping for the show. I was sitting in your office. It was March 8th, 2020, right? So 2 days before we shut down. And I remember you looked me in the eye and you said, send me the paperwork. We got a deal. And we shook hands at the time. That was before we were using Purell, right? Before we were shaking hands, right? And so I remember I was so excited. I was so pumped up. And, I know we're talking about chip shortage, but it triggered my memory when you were saying about hybrid work from home and stuff. And I remember being so excited, and I high-fived my engineer, and we're like, yeah, we get home. And then 2 days later, the pandemic hit, right? We shut down everything. And it was like, hey, we got to put everything on hold because economic uncertainty, right? And now here we are. What is it now? Almost 2 years, right? Well, what is maybe a little less, but almost 2 years to where this whole thing started and going crazy. And now we're talking about chip shortages and hybrid work from home, and people, I see, and I don't know, Ronnie, maybe you could chime in on this, but I see, I don't even know what we are at this point. Are we hybrid? Are we back to work? Some companies are doing this and some companies are doing that. And I think it's really difficult. And I think that's the reason why we have things like a chip shortage and all the other issues that we have, because there's just still so much in a state of flux. You know what I mean?
Here's what I would say in regards to that. And it's, like you said, not to make it comical, but I definitely would tell you, I've watched more YouTube videos with people in a suit and tux shirt on top and then stand up and be in their boxer shorts. I've seen that. I've seen them all. So I legit brought a pair of boxer shorts just so you could see them. Could be very possible I could be wearing them, but I am in my office. However, and I needed to get back to brick and mortar, and I find the stability with having an engineer for the industry that we're in, an engineer that I can go grab, and he's one office away. Now, I sell to a lot of people, a lot of large companies, that they're not back in the office and they're working at home. And so what do they say? It said divorce went up 57% because obviously we don't like being around our wives or our husbands. We don't really know the answer to that question. I think Jantastic is great, by the way, Ryan. But so yeah, so I like being around my wife. But I don't like my wife listening to what I say. So what I do for work versus what I do at work has been very different. So being in a building where, like you said, we can have this opportunity to reach out to other folks and to help is very different in the sense that if I sit in my kitchen and try to talk and my wife wants to run a blender to, make a NutriBullet, whatever that is, right? Because I don't eat spinach. But do that's it's a very awkward thing. And it's always when you're from a sales side, it's when you're asking for a PO. It's when you're calling a Ryan and saying, hey, can we get this done today? Hey, it's end of month. Hey, it's end of quarter. That is all gone away. That's car business sales. That's not technology anymore. Mm-hmm. Technology is, when can I get you something? How can I get you something? Again, I go back to this piece and say, I could order 2 eggs, sunny side up. I want bacon and grits, and please bring me some pepper and like a cup of coffee. That is not where we live. So we keep asking, what is norm and what is bridging the gap? Like to your point, Jonathan, there's so many different areas or I guess walls. Let's say walls written around what is normal now, and how does someone communicate from a sales side? How do you talk to a Ryan that may work from home now? Mm-hmm. How do you do that? You're gonna find a way to get a cell phone number. I mean, we have it, but how could someone else do that? Right. By the way, Ryan, everyone else who's ever worked for me calls you by the way anyway too, but however.
I'm not sure Ryan wants everyone having a cell phone number though.
I know. Everybody has my number. It's fine. It's fine. Everybody has my number. But even at that point, like, how acceptable is that kind of background noise? I don't think that a single day goes by where you don't have dogs barking in the background. You don't have kids climbing around underneath the table or something going on somebody's end of a phone call, whether it's the sales side or the customer side. There seems like there's always something there.
And I listen, and I think the work from home environment is amazing. Like you said, I would tell you, my first mentor, John O'Shea, who just legit did the the Tech Data Synex acquisition, who was my first mentor, he basically said, if you can produce, I look at the equal sign at the end of the month, and at the end of the month, if your equal sign said that it made sense, work from the moon. So that, bring your own device, all that wasn't necessarily popular back then. And, we use different devices to VPN in. But I would tell you now on the security side and things like that, it's a very dangerous environment as well, that all of a sudden people aren't at where their job is. They're not doing their job, but they're not where their job is.
Yeah. And that goes to the point of, then we can get into a whole nother topic when we talk about tech, people working from home, remote work from home and users. And I mean, Ryan, from your seat, that's got to give you nightmares. By the way, before you even answer that, check this out. Ryan Fong gave your cell phone number out. Ryan's cell is 407.
That might be I'm just clapping to that one right there because I was getting ready to broadcast it myself.
Yeah.
But, like I said, everybody's got my number.
Yeah.
Everybody that ever worked for me has your phone number. I know for sure.
But and you know what, Ronnie, too, by the way, so we gotta talk about the sunny side up type of thing that you order your eggs. We could put that off to the side, but that's a little odd. I think you gotta be scrambled egg guys, or over easy or over hard, but sunny side up, you got problems.
No, listen, I'm quite honestly, if you put it over grits and just smash it a little bit with some bacon, and Ryan would tell you, I've been around with some bacon, correct?
Oh yeah, yep.
Yeah. You got to be a special baby. Special babies only eat sunny side up.
Now I'm sunny side up, and I don't know why. There's not a technology reason for that. I just think that somebody said it one day. Again, it was on a guest check, but I ordered it and it was delivered. So as we talk about bridging the gap, ordering it and delivery, as Ryan said. So you talk about as a practitioner versus a sales guy. Tell me about what I can do that you're going to get in March, and tell me about, like he said, in growth and in prosperity and what capitalism and all of those pieces that take place, that things are getting back in motion minus the technology. So right now, everything is -1 technology. If you need technology, you better look back a generation because you're not getting it till a next generation.
Yep. Absolutely. And we brought up a topic that I think we should touch on. Let's expand on it because we went there, so we might as well go there. We're talking about remote work from home, and we have people that are at this point, I think they know, but you still got to be careful where they don't have the technology background that we do. We know not to click on certain links, right? But you'll have what was that?
The X file, the file that you click on that all of a sudden your entire company's hacked, that one?
Right, exactly. Yeah.
It looks like it came from your boss, but it didn't.
Exactly. And we hear it all the time. In our industry, it's every day, right? We hear it all the time. But Joe from accounting or Patty from marketing doesn't necessarily know the stuff that we know. And they don't understand, all these things. Or they may leave their computer open. They go out to lunch and the kids are home or whatever it is, and they click on the link and they're checking their Google or whatever it is. So we know what we should do to keep secure, but you guys, I mean, especially Ryan from your seat, I would imagine it keeps you up at night and you have nightmares about, all these employees and what they're doing and what they're clicking on or not clicking on or leaving their device open on the VPN. I would imagine that would frighten me.
You have to be able to protect the environment, and in most cases, the human element really is the weakest link. So it's a combination of, end user training and education. It's drilling with them. It's doing those fish alert awareness training videos, and the test emails, and just drilling it in every day that you have to be careful with what you're clicking on, almost to the point where they're afraid to click on anything without verifying that they really do expect it and that it really is safe. And if there's any question at all, they will ask somebody in technology to help them to make sure that it is safe before they go on it. But yeah, security, especially in the work from home environment, is a really big challenge for, I think, a lot of different industries.
Yeah. I mean, that's what we see every day. And going back to what we were talking about earlier, I mean, every company is different. I'll tell you this, guys, I talk to probably like a minimum 10 different organizations per day with what I do. And everyone's doing something different. There's no unification. Because some of these companies are headquartered in different states. So you got New York, for example, right? New York is, they're demanding. There's some big companies like Morgan Stanley and all these bigger companies that are saying, hey, you can't work remote anymore. We're coming back to the office. And then they have all their different rules. And you got Florida, which is completely different. And you have organizations saying, yeah, we want to get, fully back to, 100% operational. And then you got the organizations in the middle where they're saying, wow, we don't need necessarily having to spend X amount of dollars, thousands of dollars a month on rent. We could have maybe a smaller office space and keep these, half hybrid, half going to the office. So there's just so much going on still right now in our industry. And I think from my perspective, Ronnie, maybe you could, can help me fill in the gap. Sometimes it's hard to find where your company or your organization fills a need because everybody's just doing something so different. You can't just go to their website anymore or read, the latest, LinkedIn post about what their company's doing to really understand where you're fit.
And again, like I said, as I believe as the world looks around, it's still a telephone, it's still an email, it's still a LinkedIn post, it's still all of those other things that have value. But like you said, if you're truly interested in being a partner to someone and an extension to their team, I think you have to ask, and then you adapt and be elastic and you be creative to figure out. Bridging the gap is about, maybe you are hybrid, maybe the administrators come to the office, maybe the salespeople don't, maybe the call center is, like you said, in New York City, but they really have now routed the phone calls, from the desk phone to their home phone. Those are, and again, like Ryan said, dogs barking, the Ring doorbells. I mean, my refrigerator tells me if I'm out of Coca-Cola, so I don't even drink Coca-Cola. My wife does, just FYI. But but it's one of those things that I think that it's got to be boutique. I think in IT sales today, if you're not able to be elastic, creative, and be boutique. By boutique, I don't mean small. By boutique, I mean specific. So small enough to care about your customer, but big enough to get it done. Ryan would tell you, he called me GSD years and years and years ago, but I would say, I'm not going to say all the words that was in that, but it's probably get stuff done, probably, I think. I don't know. He just happened to say those initials. But I would say that it's a very unique environment that this hasn't happened before. So go back to 9/11 or other tragic events that happened. Go back to the Titanic. That we're in a world that if we don't adapt quickly and we don't perform quickly, the results will be weeds as opposed to seeds growing into flowers.
Yep. No, I agree 100%. I mean, I know that there's been challenges, no doubt. I had to reinvent myself when COVID hit.
Is that when you started dancing?
That's when I started dancing. Well, no, I just recently started dancing. Well, I've been always dancing, but I never let anyone see. So now I've just started dancing.
I clearly have seen you dancing.
I love
everybody on TikTok has seen you dancing.
Ronnie, I don't know if you guys follow me on LinkedIn. For those of you guys, I know we have a bunch of
doesn't follow you. Anybody that doesn't follow you, Jonathan, you should. So I just request anyone that is in my group that's listening, please follow him. He's the worst dancer I've ever seen in my life.
Well, then we're gonna take a poll, right? And we're gonna call it we're gonna call it the hashtag Ronnie Challenge, because I want to see how many people think I'm a great dancer and my salsa skills will crush you. I mean, you don't even understand. I mean, I'm on the level of like.
I think you're good with the camera. The lighting is what you're good with. The lighting made you almost look like you're a better dancer, kind of. Right. But in reality, Brian just turned sideways. It looked like. But
right. Yeah.
So Ryan, if your office building just turned over, I apologize.
That was your tech that you sold him?
Probably my technology I sold him. Yes.
Right. I got you. He looks like he's hopping back on. Let me bring him back in. You all right there, Ryan?
Hello. There, I'm back. But you went sideways. Like you kind of went like you had like a mini stroke and then came back. All right, let's go back to smart people talk. Let's let Ryan talk a little bit about, like you said, how they're managing right now. Again, the edge security, the dual authentication, all the things that you and I talk about as salespeople, we talk about every day. How to protect yourself, how not to get that $1.5 billion Bitcoin, ransomware, and how not to do that. Ryan, how do you holistically look at that?
Ryan, can you hear us?
Yep, clearly he doesn't have an answer. So I might talk about it. Ryan.
You might have to pitch in there while Ryan looks like he's having
I
some
can tell you,
audio issues.
it took Jesus 3 days, but it won't take Ryan 3 days. But he will come back. He will come back. But again, like I said, so yeah, I think that he has to dial back in.
Yeah,
but again,
probably.
Jonathan, let me ask the question to you then, because you and I are in the same industry, and when we have certainly the same amount of time, certainly I'm a better dancer, but I'm going to bring that up every time. But dancing aside, when you're engaging a customer, size of Ryan's company, you're engaging them. What is the first conversation about security? Is the first conversation about, are you still remote? Is the first conversation is, how did COVID affect your business? How does COVID affect your business today? Are your employees vaccinated? All of those things. So let's just bring it right out on the table.
You know, I don't talk about COVID. I feel like it's still a little taboo because you never know where they stand on what side of the aisle from that perspective of it. So I kind of stay away from that. With me, when I'm engaging someone for the first time, I'm big on LinkedIn, right? So I'll find you on LinkedIn and I'll see what content you're posting about. It may not even be about your job, but I'll see something that I can make a connection with, and I'll engage you with on that. I'll engage you on that. And
so what you're telling me is that you're intelligent enough in your sales skills that because I went to FSU, that you wouldn't wear a Gators hat on my first engagement with you.
No. I wouldn't. And, be quite honest with you, no offense to anyone in the audience, but I'm not even into college sports. I'm from New York. I don't know if you guys can tell by the accent, but I'm born and raised in New York. That's why you see in the background the two skylines, New York and Orlando. So in New York, we only have pro teams. I don't even know of a college. And the closest college team I had was Rutgers University. So it wasn't really like we had a team to root for. So when I moved down to Florida, I never really got into college sports. So my allegiance is up in, I'm up for grabs. Anyone wants to bring me in, take me to a college football game, invite me, I'll go. We'll tailgate, and then that'll be the team I root for. As long as they're good, I'll go there. So if you want to take me to a Florida State game, Ronnie, I'm with you, and that'll be the team I root for.
I'm just gonna say, best answer ever, as long as they're good. So what do you want from your sales guy? What do you want from your professionalist? What do you want? You want the best ever. So to get the best ever, what do you have to do? Good practice, good promises, deliver on what you promise. And again, deliver on what you promise and be really, really fast on your responses. I will tell you, someone like Ryan, whether he can hear us or not hear us, I will tell you right now in this period of season of the world that we're in, that not just now, but specifically now, I would say that it's about response. And if someone asks you for something, you should be able to say yes or no, that's my swim lane. And you should be able to say yes or no, I can provide it. And you should deliver what you promise. And I honestly think when we talk about bridging the gap in technology, it's a little bit about that. Yeah. Again, I go right back to this. Guest check. Sunny side up eggs. No, you don't like them. It's be the first thing I'll order you, Jonathan.
I don't know.
But with grits and bacon. Grits and bacon. Hard to hear that from a half child.
Doesn't make it better.
But I would say that in reality, right now, we don't have a guest check. There's not a script to call a customer and ask, what do you need? Because right now a customer needs guidance. They need a trusted advisor. They needed somebody that is, agnostic. Ryan said it himself. If we have to look outside the Cisco realm, and I've sold him a whole bunch of Cisco, outside the Cisco realm and find somebody that can help us bridge this gap. How do we do it? What is the way? So you need somebody that really a technologist and a little bit of a sales guy, kind of.
You know what though, Ronnie? You make the comment about trusted advisor, and we use that term loosely, right? Let me
very loosely.
Before I even go into it, let me show you what Ryan Fong said. Utilizing social media in today's market has become paramount in bridging the gap. I love how you tied that together with the show between prospecting and first.
Also, yeah, all right, phone number, doesn't he?
And yes, he does. Yep. And COVID shifts it.
Ready. I'm going right to LinkedIn.
And let me tell you this, I will say, and Vincent also says yes, so he agrees with us full blown. But I would tell you this, we use the term about being a trusted advisor, but when you're meeting for somebody, with somebody for the first time in IT, whether they're director of IT or all the way up to the CIO, whatever level they're at, we say that term, but how do you become trusted? You're a stranger. right?
Correct.
And it takes time to develop that trust. Up until that point, you're just another sales guy, probably annoying them, you know? So you have to find, with me personally, the way I like to do it is when we talk about social media, I like to use it as a social platform. For me, it's just about, first
Getting
finding,
introduced.
say it again.
Getting introduced.
Well, yeah, being introduced is one thing, but if they're just a cold call, I want to make it a warm call. So I'll find something that you're posting about that I can engage with, that it resonates with me, that I can truly speak on. Not just making a comment to make a comment on your post, but I want to engage with you. And that way I can get you to respond. And then once we're engaged in a conversation, it could be totally off topic about what it is that I sell. But at least I'm on your radar now because I've engaged with you. And let's face it, right? At the end of the day, who doesn't like it when you post something and someone engages with it? You don't want to post something to get 1 like or 2 likes. You want to post to kind of get interaction going and conversation going. So if I can start that conversation with my prospect, well, now I'm in, right? So now I can have that conversation. I'm building a relationship. Think of it like dating, right? When you and I were single, right, and we would go out to a bar, and I want to prevent myself from being crass, Ronnie. So make sure you stop me if I'm going too far. But when you see a person that you're attracted to at a bar, you don't just go up to that person and say, "Hey, give me your number," or give me Ryan's number for that
Yeah,
matter.
well, we got number.
And by the way, check your messages to make sure Ryan's getting on here. I don't know where Ryan's having some issues. So, having trouble with his connection. So he'll get on as soon as he can. But
Hey, listen, I don't want to say I'm his IT guy, by the way, so never mind.
but you don't just go up to that person and say, "Hey, give me your number," right? That would be rude. That would be, you'd get smacked in the face. So in social media, and the same thing when we talk about a cold call, it's the equivalent of saying, "Hey, give me your number." You don't even know me, man. Like, I'm not, buy me a drink first. You know what I mean? So it's like, so instead of being that way, I rather engage with your content, like it, comment on it, maybe even reshare it, right? And that way now I'm on your radar. So then I can dig in a little bit further into your profile or then on your website and say, "Hey, by the way, Ronnie, I noticed on your website you do dot dot dot. Ironically, my company does this dot dot dot." And now I can bridge the gap and say, I love your content, love your post. Perhaps we should have a conversation to see where it goes. What do you think?
Jonathan, I would tell you, it's kind of funny that would be your comment, because it's really funny, and obviously you see that Vinny Urso's on there, and Vinny's part of my team. But I would say we talk a lot. So we talk about technology overview. How many, for you and I from the sales side, how many cold calls can we make that like you said, the person isn't interested in you. They have a vendor. So the word trusted advisor is definitely overused, and it doesn't have the same value. Just like I said with a guest check. It doesn't have the same value as right now I can order Cisco and Disty's going to distribute it tomorrow, because that's not true. So you have to be trusted. So how do you get trusted? It's a stranger. You start with a stranger. And like you said, it's common ground. What is the common ground? And everybody doesn't have synergies. Not everyone has a synergy with someone else. There are people that won't do business with me, even though I'm from Florida. I sound like I'm from New York. I talk faster than you and I dance better, but everybody's not from New York. But people have their own opinions, and they're busy and they're hounded. So the 100+ phone calls a day that are made are made to people that are aggravated to pick the phone up, because they're not. A conversation doesn't start with "How's your day?" because they don't know your name. And I think so. We talk about, in my group, we legit talk about how do we take a stranger, much like you said, and again, a stranger, have something in common. So not with a goal that, hey, you know what, I didn't buy you a drink, and I came and asked for your phone number before I asked you to take an Uber back to a hotel room. No, we talk about things like, how can I help? What are your pain points? And how do we develop a relationship? That's part of bridging the gap in IT. It's about relationships, and everybody has a vendor. Everyone's had a vendor. Everyone had a vendor before they had a vendor, right? Yeah. Everyone will have another vendor. Everyone will have another vendor. And I can only say that as truthful as it is. Everyone will have another vendor. I've certainly lost customers. Yep. Hopefully not to you, but I've certainly lost customers.
I don't think we compete.
I don't think we compete, but that's not really the point. But I'm just saying that it is unique that timing, effort, an effortless being, showing an effort makes sense. So again, as we talk about LinkedIn, we talk about, we're doing this podcast. You and I are doing this podcast now with Ryan. In about being visible and available. That's what I think matters.
Yep.
Be available, and be available 365, 24/7. Because guess what? I promise you, Ryan's had phone calls at 10 o'clock at night on vacation that there was a problem in somewhere in his network that he didn't create, but he has to control. So if you're that helping hand, if you're that person that can bridge the gap, you deserve the relationship. But the relationships are long. My relationships are 20 years long. I mean, like I said, Ryan and I have been friends for a very long time. I can tell you that.
Yep.
You know what I mean? And because of COVID, people have moved locations. Your business card may not look the same as it looked 2 years ago. You know what I mean? Maybe a different name, different location.
And and to that point, Ronnie, I'll tell you this, and we're getting a lot of people that agree with us on this. And Ryan, just so you guys know, Ryan's having some technical difficulties. He's texting us, and he'll say he'll be back on as soon as he can. So I want to get him involved in this conversation. I think it'd be great. But if you guys have any questions for us, feel free to just shoot them in the comment section as you guys are doing. But I will tell you this. To that point, Ronnie, I think what's really interesting is we know people buy from people. And that's no BS. People buy.
That's just the truth. Yes.
It doesn't matter the name on your back. It doesn't matter the name on your paycheck, whether it's ABC company or XYZ company. If you have a solid relationship with the buyer, right? Once you've established a relationship with someone and you've proven to them that you are that trusted advisor that we talked about earlier, then if you move someplace else, or you get a promotion, or you're doing something to better your career and you move on, you can take that with you, because people buy from people. They're going to buy from that person that they trust. And they're not going to buy from that person who's going to, your competition, who's trying to make that cold call and trying to, get that business away from them, because they have that trusted advisor now. How do you get to that trusted advisor point? We talked about that earlier, but once you're in there and you've proven to that person that you care about their business, and you taking your shoes off and putting their shoes on, it doesn't matter the name of the company that's, that reps you. That person's going to buy from you.
Nope. And you know what? And like you said, you establish through the industry, you establish relationships with the OEM. So who are your customers? Your customers are your customers are distribution, and your customers are the manufacturers. And that's the truth. And in this real world, I hate to use the term bake off, because I hate that stupid show on TV that my son watches, but the cake baking show.
Yeah. Caking show. Yep.
Yeah, I can't stand it, actually. I love the cakes, but I don't eat cake. Yep. I'm allergic to milk. Just FYI, just for fun fact. Ryan's back.
Ryan's back. Can you hear us, Ryan?
Cannot.
He can't hear us. I don't know. He's not on mute. I could tell you that.
But quickly, going back to that point, is that
you're on mute, Ryan, by the way, in case you want to.
Advisor, specifically in this volatile market right now, is somebody that says, you know what, let's do functionally equal or better, and try to figure out what works in your environment, and make the OEMs be competitive.
Yep.
I say that very anonymously, I guess. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that way, but I would tell you, if you're agnostic, and you're really looking for the solution, and you have a flow chart, you have a plan, whether it's a plan to go to the cloud, whether it's a plan to what does 3-year migration look like, what does my expansion plan look like, how do we do that as a team, and be an extension to the team? And again, like we said, trusted advisor, extension of the team is a very overused term. However, it is a deliverable term. Right. So if you promise, you deliver what you promise. I would say those words make sense when you see them in a value-added situation. And that's just the truth. I mean, that's just, and that's not a sales guy talk. That's just I would tell you, I'm disappointed if things don't work out the way they should. Yep. Period.
Let's take a look at what Ryan says again. It's even more to the point that prospective clients expect a salesperson to do a forensic research and have an understanding of them prior to.
So right. He is so correct.
100%.
I would just tell you, he is so correct with that statement. And from a again, sales guy, experience, not experience, dinosaur, whatever I might be, I would definitely tell you, and have some fun when you sell. Have some fun. It
Here's
should be fun. It
here's
shouldn't
some
be
fun.
dangerous. It should
Look
be.
at
It should be fun.
Look at what Denver says.
Yeah, Ryan needs a vendor. Hold on, let me raise my hand. It's not on the other side of the page, but I'll raise my hand.
You are so right. I'm telling you. Yeah. Well, unfortunately, it's funny. It's calling bridging the gap in tech, and we're having technical issues. But it is what it is. We'll get Ryan back on and get his take on it as soon as we can.
And the bridging the gap piece is about also creativity.
Right.
How are we creative in this volatile market right now? How are we getting creative with the OEMs? I mean, like I said, I would tell you that the real OEMs are being generous and kind in discounts, but you can't get it to March. But how do you figure out what to do between then and there? Is it rental gear? Is it what? There's so many ridiculous different options to try to help and stay, like you said, faithful to your OEM and fix the problem for your customer, because your customer says, I need it today. Gas check, sunny side up eggs. That's really just the truth. And I expect them to be served at my table while I'm not doing a commercial for First Watch, but I do sell them. But First Watch to bring them to my table. And how does that happen? It is the responsibility of the sales guy to take the pain points away from the engineer guy. That's the job. That's the job you signed up for. Meet and greet is great. That's great.
Let me ask you this question. I put up a post on LinkedIn about a week ago. I think it was the one that you talked about where I was dancing, right? The one with the Carlton dance.
Yes, I saw it.
I talked about, it was interesting because I got some negative comments on that post, by the way.
Oh, I was like teasing about your dancing. You're a great dancer.
Oh, I know that. You don't have to tell me. But the point is but I did get some not negative, but just contradictory points to it, because I made the premise of the caption of that post was that it was when you could get the bid from a competitor. For us, that's gold, right? Now, why would a person like Ryan, or why would the buyer, the customer, want to even do that, right? Because it's almost like you become a commodity at that point. Like, you're just match the price and I'll buy your stuff, right? But the point that I was trying to make was that's like the holy grail for us. But why would a person like Ryan, or a buyer, a customer, want to do something like that? And I think what's changed, what people miss, whether you're a salesperson or whether you're an IT practitioner or just a customer in general buying something, you and I are consumers. We buy stuff, right? And so why would we try to do match prices and stuff? Things have changed. And particularly in the business realm, people have gotten fired for bringing in vendors, the wrong vendor, right? They vet the process. You got IT teams that go through the whole process of vetting all these different vendors. They get their 3 quotes like they have to do. They've checked the tech. They've verified you. They've checked your stock price to see you're a solid financial company. They've done their due diligence. And then they bring in and this vendor comes in and sucks. And people have gotten fired for those decisions. So oftentimes when you're bringing in a new vendor into the mix, it's almost like when it comes to price, they're kind of hedging their bets and justifying it by saying, if this vendor craps the bed and does bad for us, I stuck my neck out on the line. I brought this person in. I need to justify that decision. So how do I justify that decision? Well, they matched the price. It was our lowest price or whatever, our lowest bid. And obviously we know that we shouldn't back in the day, we shouldn't buy the cheapest price. We don't sell on price, you and I. We're at a higher level than sales than
Correct. It's again, Jonathan, it's about, like I would say to your point, it's about performance, and honestly, so relationship and performance. Nobody wants to be the person that got someone fired for buying the lowest price ever. That you buy the lowest price and it breaks. That didn't really work. But how about this? You bought the lowest price, and that person does a personal RMA and flies to Wisconsin to deliver a soup engine for you. To put in your 6509. I'm only saying that because that's an example that I know in my head because I did. But however, it's about the relationship, and there's a cost to a relationship. So go back to, like you said, to wherever we buy anything, whether it's auto parts or whatever. If I pull into the car wash, the people know my name and say hello Ronnie. they turn over, but they still know my name because they're young kids in high school with the job. So I think even at this stage of the game for us, so we call it whatever get old stage, that in reality the lessons that I think I've learned are it is relationship. And you know what? Price doesn't always matter. Don't try to hit home runs. You bunt sometimes, but don't bunt to try to hit a home run. So don't earn a customer by being the lowest price. Earn a customer by being the best resource available. The best resource with the best resources. I can walk 13 feet from my desk that I'm sitting at right now, and I can bring a tier 3 engineer in here, and we can talk on the phone. And I can do that every day, all day, any day. As a matter of fact, I can do it on Saturday nights. I can do it. It doesn't matter. So it's part of, for you and I, it's part of that evolution into, again, this new age and bridging the gap, that piece. And it's also the part of think about the person that served me my eggs. I tip them. I tip that person, and I'm glad that they provided exactly what they told me. If I said 2 sunny side up eggs, which you hate, 1 bad dancer on last Friday, and all of those things, but if that's what's delivered as promised, that's how a real relationship starts. And again, it still has to be that. What is the piece that we do with the OEMs to make them be compliant? If they know they're only buying Cisco, and I'm only using Cisco as an example, not to have Cisco guys mad at me, but if they know they're only buying Cisco, you're getting 42 off list. If I say they're looking at Juniper, they might get 77 off list. I mean, it's just how it works. You have to be, in our job, we have to be compassionate about how do we take and build that relationship, looking for the best resolve for the customer, the best solution, future-proof them. If I would use that word, try to future-proof them. We don't know about COVID. We don't know about things like that, right? But future-proof them and then help them and constantly be available. So from a sales guy side, so bridging the gap is, how is a sales guy? No engineer wants to talk to a sales guy. It's odd that Brian's in technical trouble, but nobody wants to talk to a sales guy. But like you said, life happens and things happen.
Yeah.
You have to deal with someone. And people like to deal with people that they like. And that is the point that I watch you in every single one of your TikTok videos I watch, that I say that it's so funny that you get that piece so strongly. You just do.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
No, it's listen, that's off the cuff. That's 1,000% the truth. And you can only go over 100%. So I know Ryan's probably going to send me a text saying it's only can't go over 100. But however, I would say, so it's 110x, by the way.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you saying that. I'm curious, as we're starting to wind down here, we've got a bunch of people on the YouTube live, on the LinkedIn live I'm watching. I wonder if any of them are IT practitioners specifically, because I am curious to know if you guys are out there. Please comment in the comment section. I'm curious to know. Unfortunately, we don't have Ryan here to get his perspective, but I do want to know, like, when you're
Jonathan, not to interrupt. I would tell you, he's not just a practitioner. This guy's an expert. He is the doctor of doctors of doctors of doctors of doctors of doctors of IT.
For sure. But I'm curious to know, we were talking about, an engineer doesn't want to have a conversation with a sales guy. I'll be honest with you. I'm in tech sales, but I'm not very technical. A hard drive for me, a hard drive, right? You know what that is. For me, a hard drive is the I-4 during rush hour when I'm trying to get to Tampa. That's a hard drive. I swear to God, right? That's right. So
I thought it was a 5. Hey, listen, I thought it was a 5-inch floppy.
So, I am not very technical. I lean heavily on my engineers to have the bits and the bytes talk. I'll be over there with, someone like Ryan or whoever's the buyer, kind of schmoozing and playing golf. But my question is, like, I wonder, does a person who's a customer in IT, do they need to have that salesperson be very techy, or does it not matter? So I'm really curious. I know you and I, we could say we want to be involved in those conversations, but personally, when I'm in a meeting with someone, I shut up when the conversation gets very techy, because I don't want to get involved in that. I know what my strengths are, my weaknesses are.
And quite honestly, it's the wizard behind the curtain. And I will tell you, if there's anybody on there that like you said has connected me, will tell you that listen, the same thing. My engineers do the talking. I'm not responsible. I do have some certs, sure. Do I know enough to be dangerous? Sure, but I don't want to be dangerous. I want to be someone that helps, and I want to help, and I want a continuation. So I look for residual results in regards to you come back again and say, wow, thank you for your help. And what can we do next time? And, again, like I told you before, actually, I'm going to show you right now. I didn't do it, but even now, as we adjust to the new world in a Zoom meeting, that could be the pants I'm wearing right now. That's Calvin Klein boxer briefs. Would let you know that they're giant because I'm fat. But I would say
we're gonna get flagged by LinkedIn or something like that. I'm not
I
sure.
would totally get flagged.
My LinkedIn Live privileges.
We're gonna do a live only page or one of those things, whatever that is. But I would tell you, I want this to grow, and I want us to be able to have communication with people in the world. And Ryan is an asset. He's an absolute asset to answer questions on the technical side. So you and I are just a couple of sales guys on the phone right now. I mean, the truth is, we both have experience in the market. We have it from two different sides of the market, which is kind of funny. But with the same approach, the approach is be approachable.
Yep. Forward thinking. Let's show you what Vincent wrote. Vincent's one of your guys, you said?
Yes, he is.
So forward thinking, visibility is the key in today's market. You can't fix what you can't see. And then a bunch of different tech acronyms that we only know, that only us know in tech. Automation.
I accidentally know all of them, but yes, I would definitely. I will tell you. So, Vinny, if you are listening, I will tell you loud and clear. I don't have to Joel Osteen on you, but I will tell you that's forward thinking, and forward thinking is bridging the gap. And if you can't think about tomorrow and forget yesterday, we can't count on our Cisco gear or Juniper gear arriving in 3 days through distribution. So from a sales guy's perspective, you also can't think about your commission showing up till March either. So how do you fix those problems? You find a way to fix those problems, help your customer, help yourself, and be helpful to your family. Truthfully, that's really where this goes. Bridging the gap is a lot of things. So like you said in the very beginning, Jonathan, we can describe it as bridging the gap. What do we do with a chip shortage? Bridging the gap. What do we do if I don't have a tech engineer? Bridging the gap. There's so many things we could say that sentence means. You know what I mean? But the real truth is, bridging the gap is having a value added resource, having somebody that can help you in your times of distress, that can be alert, can be ready. I guess, like I said, I used to watch those commercials for the thing that would hang around your neck that the old lady could hit. That guy got rich, by the way. What was that thing called?
You're in sales because you're in sales to control your own income. You should be rich by now.
Hey, listen. You can be rich in other ways. You can be rich with good friends and good customers and good relationships. Rich is also a word that can be defined so many different ways. So you can be rich in money and unhappy, but you can be rich in relationships and know that you're helping people fix their needs and bridge the gap. Right. You can be rich in knowing that Ryan can go to sleep at 12 o'clock on a Friday night and know that his help desk overflow goes into my office. Yep. So you can be rich in so many different areas. It's weird how we define that word, but bridging the gap, as we dive into this, over the season, I guess, I would tell you that would be my definition.
Yep. We're speaking of bridging the gap. Whoever's watching this, who's in telecom sales and selling like fiber internet, they're going to flood Ryan's emails right now with, meeting requests, because whoever has the internet over there at his office is really not doing well right now, especially with this podcast. Unfortunately, I'm texting with Ryan, and he's looking like he's going to try to hop back on. I'm not sure if we're going to get him in time. So unfortunately, I can't have his take.
I would like to get him, if it's possible, if he can pop on for a second from his cell phone and do kind of a closing. But you want to talk about a wizard of what we do. We're salespeople. So like you said, meet and greet, go golf, have a beer, make it funny, make the responsibility be on the engineer. That's really the truth. Yep. But do it with integrity, do it with morality, and do it with ethics. That's the game. Like I said, go back to the guest check. Sunny set up eggs, whether you like them or not. If I order them, they deliver them, and they put them right in front of me, and I can eat them immediately. Right now, just 12 minutes later, I know you don't like them, but
gross. Just gross.
It's really gross if you put it in grits, by the way.
Just gross. It's still gross.
Oh, your dancing is not good either, but however. Hey, like I said, in conversational talk, I would tell you Ryan is a key but a key piece of what you and I are trying to do by sharing this goodness out there on how to do these things. And I would tell you again, he has faced every challenge, from security challenges, from cybersecurity challenges, to how do we mobilize people all across the country? How do we? I mean, that guy gets it. So that's a guy that you and I go and ask, how does this happen? What makes this happen? Where you and I say, like you said, we can swing golf clubs. We're both pretty. And you might have been prettier with hair, but who knows? But however,
I was the man.
You're still a man even without hair.
I was the man. You should have seen me in my prime.
Oh man, I didn't see the capital letters there. My bad. Yeah, but I would say, like I said, this is something I'm looking forward to and continuing to do. And I want Ryan to obviously get better internet service. We did something with telecom.
So look, as we wind down here, because we're going to keep this to an hour. Unfortunately, it looks like Ryan's not going to be able to hop back on, but that's the way, it goes. Technical difficulties. We'll try to
best example ever. Best example ever.
Yep. So we'll straighten that out on the next episode. What I do want to do is talk to you guys about what we're going to be doing for the following weeks. We're going to have special guests coming on. We're going to have more in-depth tech talk. This conversation took more of a sales talk because, unfortunately Ryan couldn't hop on, but we'll have more in-depth tech talk for you guys that are out there that want to hear that. We're going to have special guests coming on to talk about the industry. So we'll start to promote that as we line up our guests. And maybe you could tease that a little bit, Ronnie. Who are some of the folks that you have in mind that have already accepted your request?
Oh, I've got a bunch. I have a bunch. I'm not really sure what my meeting calls them.
Don't say names, but just give some idea.
A bunch. I'll have every OEM, because obviously I'm very well connected with Cisco and obviously with Juniper and with Fortinet. And like you said, again, they've been very accommodating and bridging the gap in regards to product shortage and things like that, and flex licensing and things that they can do that it does take 30 years experience in the industry. I'm never going to be your IT advisor to anyone that's listening. I'm going to be the guy that finds the right guy. That's what I am. I'm ready. GSD. Honestly, Ryan called me that probably 10 years ago, and then I don't know where we're allowed to cuss, but get stuff done. Right. And I'm good. I'm good at doing that. So I would tell you, just like this, I would tell you, I had sat in a chair for an hour in my entire life, but I was excited to do this today.
Well, yeah, no, I think this is fun. It gives a good insight to the folks that are in the audience and just kind of how we do things and how we have conversations with folks. Because I think a lot of people are hurting, whether you're on the sales side, whether you're on the buyer side in IT. IT is, there's so much change that's gone on because of the way the world is right now. And I think that at this point in time, if we could just shed some light on what our experiences has been, and also get a perspective when maybe we could add some value to whoever it is that's watching going forward in your career, or going forward as you grow in promotions and you look to move on, or bring in new tech into your industry, or bring in new tech into your business. If we could add some value to just one person, I think this would be a success. So as we wind down here, I want to say thank you to all you guys that participated on the show. Thank you for commenting and adding your 2 cents. We're looking forward to seeing you guys next week on episode 2. We'll announce who's going to be our guest and what that topic will be. So tune into that. We'll be every Tuesdays at 12 p.m. Eastern time.
Jonathan, odd question as we wind down, just because obviously we know this is supposed to be a little bit flighty. How did you get the term 2 cents?
2 cents. How did I get that term?
Or did someone have $5? Did someone have $10?
I have no idea where that term came from. I just know I learned it as a young little lad, a little boy, and I kept it.
Listen, I'm going to culture challenge that one and say that's not valid anymore, because we didn't use pennies.
Okay, I'm gonna still say. Listen, we're gonna say it's not canceled. I'm gonna say 2 cents as long as you eat sunny side eggs. So if you continue to eat the sunny side eggs, I'm gonna say what I want to say.
Oh, I cannot even wait. Wait to go to breakfast and show you that I'll eat scrambled eggs, so you don't ever say that again. So
until you don't stop that, we're gonna say whatever we want.
So I would say this.
Is it. I want to say thank you to all you guys for joining. Looking forward to sharing some more stuff with you as the weeks go on here. Everyone have a great, fantastic rest of your day. Happy selling. We'll talk to you soon. Bridge the Gap, episode 1. We're out.